My daughter and my husband and I all have loved orange creamsicles. And so these cupcakes are literally like a taste of summer. And I felt like doing that bold flavor in the frosting was the right move, and having the cupcake be delicious and classic vanilla that complemented that frosting was important.
Intentionally living, intentionally eating, intentionally growing where we are.
Welcome back to the Padilla Family Homestead. Today we are working on a super fun recipe. I talked about it in our live on Monday if you were there, and we are making gluten-free cupcakes that don't taste gluten-free, and that are they're vanilla cupcakes, and then they're gonna have an orange vanilla cream cheese frosting that tastes like a creamsicle. Now, the recipe that I'm using right now, the frosting is dairy. However, we have made it dairy-free, and I'll kind of walk you through what I did differently to make it a dairy-free frosting, and it was really good. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how to make everything. We're starting with the cupcakes, and then if you want all of the measurements and all of the things, just in case I missay something, I'm doubling the recipe and all of that. So that'll all be in the description below. I'll have a blog post with that for you to access. It's also available in a cute PDF printable in the Color Your Way Gluten-Free ebook that I have on my website as well, and I'll have that linked below. All right, so to get started, we are using our Bob's Red Mill 1-for-1 flour. Now this has been sitting in the cupboard for a while. This hasn't been opened yet, and so it's kind of heavier and clumped up. So what I like to do whenever I'm going to take my flour to get more accurate measurements, I'm going to shake this up a little bit and kind of fluff it up. Because flour settles, I can already tell it's totally separated more. So flour settles, which is why when you are using sourdough and so forth and making breads, a lot of times people will have you weigh your flour, because everybody's flour has been sitting on a shelf for a different amount of time. Some people use fresh milk, and it all weighs different amounts. Get my bucket of measuring cups. All right, so we're going to use the gluten-free all-purpose flour and get that into our bowl. It is going to be almost 70 here today. It's kind of crazy. I'm ready for it, but it's still kind of crazy. And again, I'm making a double batch right now. So I'm trying to remember to do double of everything. Okay, baking soda is next. And then we'll do salt. For this recipe, I just use whatever I have on hand, and I have pink Himalayan salt that I'm working through right now. Okay, and then we need sugar. So my recipe calls for regular sugar, which I absolutely love it with regular sugar. However, I am going to up the ante a little bit because I have vanilla sugar ready, and I want to pull these out really fast just to make my life a little bit easier. So this is just vanilla beans that are now dry and brittle. And I have them soaking in, not soaking, sitting in just cane sugar, organic cane sugar. So I'm going to do vanilla sugar for half of my sugar, and then I'm going to do regular sugar for the rest of it. If you want to see how I make that vanilla sugar, I have a video that I can link below for that. I love vanilla sugar. It's amazing. I'm actually going to up the ante. I have some beans that I'm going to pop into sugar here very soon. I was going to make more extract. I decided I don't need to do that. I go through a lot of sugar with baking. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our eggs. I forgot to do something. Husband, can you preheat the oven to 350 for me? Thank you. And take that plate off that has the maple syrup and measuring cup, cookie cutters off. All right. The next thing we're going to do is applesauce, 350. Unsweetened applesauce, because we don't want to add any extra sweetness in here. And then we're going to add in coconut milk. So the thing is, you could probably turn this into a regular recipe straight across with gluten flour. You may need to adjust your moisture just a little bit. Gluten-free flours require more moisture for them to not be chalky. Talking and doing this actually is kind of hard because I'm doubling, and when I do that I mess myself up. What did I just do? Oh, it's right there with my lid. Okay, so we need some avocado oil. And then we need some vanilla. One of my favorite parts of any recipe. I need to move these actually to a narrower jar. I think narrower opening. So, 2 recipes worth, lots of delicious, delicious vanilla. All right, and what I like to do, because of what I just did here, I keep my recipes in these plastic sleeves in a binder, and it makes my life so much easier because I am a very clumsy, messy cook, so it works for me to keep them all together in the plastic sleeves, and then I can just easily wipe them off and they're not covered in crud. So I'm going to use a whisk, and because I have so much in this bowl right now, I actually haven't done a double batch of this in this bowl. I'm going to start with kind of going up and down with it and getting that flour kind of mixed in with the liquids. And then once I get it to where I feel like that flour's off the bottom, then I'll take it. I have a little piece of vanilla bean, which I had a feeling I had in there. Okay. And then get this whisked up. And that's basically what we do. That's how simple the cupcakes are. When we were trying to work on a cupcake recipe, I love spiced cupcakes, and I love, like, our wedding was, the cupcakes and cake I made, I think were like a apple cider spiced cupcake and cake. And then I did this apple cider frosting thing. It was delicious. But I love those warm, savory flavors. But not all kids do. And we made this recipe for the Color Your Way gluten-free cookbook, wanting to really work towards those simpler, kid-friendly flavors that a lot of kids gravitate to. And my daughter and my husband and I all have loved orange creamsicles. And so these cupcakes are literally like a taste of summer. And I felt like doing that bold flavor in the frosting was the right move, and having the cupcake be delicious and classic vanilla that complemented that frosting was important, because I don't want to overdo on flavors, otherwise it just becomes too much. So I'm doing a double batch, like I said, of the cupcakes, but the frosting I'm just doing a single batch. I have found that it makes plenty for the cupcakes, and with some to spare. So I'm just going to do a single batch of the frosting. This is almost done. I'm going to let it sit for a second, and I'm going to wash my hands off, move some of this stuff to the kitchen, and we'll come up and get our cupcake liners ready to go. Okay, I'm just going to give this another stir. Make sure the sugar is kind of dissolving and everything is really mixed up in there. I see a few clumps still. So sometimes giving it that extra minute to sit is important. It should be kind of thick, like a pancake batter. Alright, so the cupcake liners that I love to use are these tulip ones. I get them on Amazon, and I can post them for you. Depending on the season, depending on the look I want, will depend on the liners I use, the colors. I'm going for the dark because I think it'll be a good contrast, and it comes with the light. If you wanted a lighter brown, just regular parchmenty looking, or the white. So it just depends on the aesthetics that you are going for. And then I'm going to put 1/4 cup So I'm going to put 1/4 cup of batter into each of these cupcake liners. Do one final mix here. Okay. found it to be helpful to kind of use a spoon, paddle thing, to kind of control the drips. Now I'm doing this amount with these liners. You may need to adjust depending on how much poof they have. You may need to adjust on how much you put in each liner. But using the tulip style, the 1/4 cup is perfect for these muffins, or not muffins, cupcakes. It's basically a muffin without, what, a cupcake is a muffin with frosting, right? Okay, so I got all 6 of these filled. I'm going to bake them for 25 to 30 minutes until a toothpick comes out cleanly. And then we'll allow it to cool for 2 minutes in the pan and rinse and repeat. I'll just keep doing this until we get through. One batch makes 12 to 15 cupcakes, depending on how full you make them and so forth. So I'm going to be doing this for at least 4 rounds. I did at this point take out my cream cheese, so it gets to room temperature, that and ready for the frosting. And because once these are all done baking, then we'll come through and make the frosting and get them going. So we will be back as I'm finishing these up. The last of the cupcakes are out. These have actually been cool. These have actually been cooling in here for a few minutes. I just like that I can pop them straight out. They're not hot at all to the touch, which is good. Okay, so I'm going to get this moved out of the way and get the mixer up here, and I'm going to bring you up so you can see what I'm doing in the mixer. Okay, so let's get started on this frosting. It's a 2-step process. The first step, I'm going to be putting in my heavy whipping cream and some vanilla extract. You want to make sure your heavy whipping cream for this is cold, and you want to make sure on the next step that your cream cheese is softened. So I make sure that my top is locked and I put it to speed 4 and I let it go, and I just let it do its thing. With the heavy whipping cream, there's really not a bunch of checking and things that you need to do, and it's just 2 simple ingredients. And you're going to wait until you start to see kind of the tracing lines from the whisk being left behind in your whipping cream. Now, if you wait too long, this will separate and turn to butter. I almost waited too long, but it's good the way it is. So now we're going to go ahead and put that into a separate bowl or container. If you have multiple bowls for your mixer, utilize that. I only have the 1 bowl for my mixer, so I make sure I empty it and then I just do the next step. The next step for this is to put in my cream cheese and the powdered sugar. This time around I got store-bought powdered sugar. I ran out of my one from Azure and I didn't feel like trying to make it for the first time for recording this video. And then the other thing you're going to need is orange extract. Now, if you notice, I did not clean out this bowl. I left all the heavy whipping cream stuff in there because we're going to end up mixing it together anyway. And so it doesn't bother me to have just a little bit. But this is definitely going to be the sweeter portion of the frosting that we're creating right now. And the cream cheese will take a little bit to soften. I find that when I put it on the higher speed, it kind of shoots it out of the whisk and allows it to actually work. If you have it too low, it just collects into the whisk. So I put it back up to speed 4 and that worked. I just scrape it all down and make sure it's all thoroughly incorporated, and then we're ready to move on. So at this point, we're going to take the bowl off, push the mixer to the side, and we're going to fold in that whipped cream mixture into the cream cheese mixture. You don't want to stir per se. You want to keep flipping it in until it's completely mixed, grabbing the stuff off the bottom, folding it to the top, folding it to the top, and it should look pretty evenly colored, and man, is this delicious. Okay, so our frosting is done. You could, now if you wanted to make this stuff in advance, you can now pop this in the fridge and let it continue to firm up and not melt in the heat. You could also make your cupcakes ahead of time, pop these in the fridge, and then take them out and frost them and make frosting day of. It's totally up to you. This is so good. So what we're going to do now is, I have a disaster on my hands here. I have powdered sugar everywhere. That's okay though. So I normally just take, I'll do this one because I have little bits on it. So I normally just take a spoonful, kind of put it on top, and kind of gently push it into the crevices of this tulip baking cupcake liner. And then if you wanted to, you could sprinkle with some little sprinkles or whatever, but I just leave it plain like this. If you have fancy stuff, you can use a piping container and pipe out some of this. I am going to just use a Ziploc bag and pipe a few of these, not much, because there's no way we're going to eat all these in one sitting. So what I'll do is I'll pop it into a Ziploc bag, kind of get it down to the end down there. I grabbed scissors. What do I do with them? Over here. Cut off my end. Oh, it would be nice if I had a decent pair of scissors right here. Okay, we'll have a good pair of scissors. And then I can take this and swirl the outer edge and then swirl into the center and do that. And this just tastes like that orange creamsicle, and it is delicious. I like it better with the spoon. It would help if I didn't have this thing, this tail, spreading it around differently. But I think that the spoon works great. It's a rustic vibe anyway with the liners, and so just having this smooth it out just a little bit. I feel like I have more control anyway over how much frosting I get in there when I use a spoon. So that's it. That's how simple this is. This frosting is delicious and easy. And there we go. So this is a fun recipe. It's easy for kids to help with. I love these liners. If you've never used them, they come off super easily. Unlike a lot of those cupcake liners that just are really stuck to these. So I really like these liners. That's a taste of summer. This could be a really fun Easter treat as well. If you wanted to, you can add some toasted coconut if you wanted to as a decoration to the top. Make it kind of look like a nest. That would change the flavor a little bit. The other thing you could do is just add like a jelly bean, or again, some colored sprinkles, whatever you want to do to the top of this. I think they're great by themselves. The liner really gives the presentation, and this is the fun part. So I think they're fun, easy, and delicious, and anybody's going to like them whether they're gluten-free or not. Okay, I need to put some of this icing away so I don't eat all these cupcakes in one sitting, or my daughter will not be happy. I won't eat 24 cupcakes in one sitting, don't worry. And we will see you on the next video.
Intentionally working, intentionally choosing, intentionally loving.